Nigel Farage is a fraud part 2, plus Prince Andrew's trip to Belize. Before I start the video with these subjects, I would just like to make a couple of comments on, firstly, why I put Polly's next gen corruption video up, and then after a couple of days, why I took it down. Now, Polly's video taken down for so-called graphic content. Now, what I hope to achieve by putting it up for a couple of days was to prove that there was nothing wrong with the video, because if there was anything wrong with the video, they would have taken down my copy straight away, and I left it up long enough to give them a chance to take it down, but they didn't, of course. We all know that the reason they didn't like Polly's video was because of the unbelievable web of mafia style corruption that it uncovered. Extraordinary video. If you haven't watched it, watch it on a BitChute channel. It's 51 minutes long, but it's well worth the watch. And the fact of her nearly 200,000 subscribers, and for the fact that 40,000 people watched this before they'd taken it down. That's what it's about. It's about the absolute unbelievable research of the video, how it exposes the globalists and the way they orchestrate things, and the fact of her power and reach. Now, I grabbed the video, I put it up on my small channel, which then was 295 subscribers, and I had it up for a couple of days, and it had 800 views and a lot of comments, a lot of people thanking me for putting the video up, and I appreciate that, but I felt like I was stealing her subs and her views because it was her work. A lot of you might think that's silly, but that's the way I felt. I'd made the point I wanted to make, which was the fact that there was nothing wrong with the video, and it was more to do with Polly's subscriber base and views and her reach, and the fact that they didn't like the subjects covered in the video and how many people would see it, rather than what was in the actual video. Anyway, that's that covered. Nigel Farage is a fraud part 2. Now, there's a couple of things that I missed when I did the last video, and they're very important, so I'm going to add to them here. People would say, well, he's controlled opposition, like I said in the last video. Why would he campaign as an anti-EU, anti-establishment campaigner for the last 25 years? Simple. It's actually very simple. If I was a globalist running these operations, I wouldn't have some fly-by-night who nobody trusts come in, campaigns for an election or a couple of elections, and disappears. People aren't going to trust them. It's not going to work. But if someone's built up, if they're cultivated, if they're groomed, and if they're well polished, like Nigel Farage is, he's very articulate, very intelligent. He's like the white version of Barack Obama, except the gloss hasn't come off Nigel Farage yet. People still trust him. Okay, he comes out of the blue, forms UKIP, has a huge win, over 4 million votes in I think it was the 2014 European election. Then, later on, he decides to step down the leadership. Then Jared Batten takes over. Then Nigel Farage decides to leave UKIP, which he knew it would destroy the party, another patriot movement. And then what happens? UKIP collapses, their vote collapses, Jared Batten loses his seat, and that's theoretically the end of UKIP. Then Nigel Farage builds up the Brexit Party. It gets, as I said in the last video, a massive amount of support, thousands of members, millions of dollars. Then he decides not to stand, and then he decides to form a non-aggression pact with the Tories and basically ensure that Britain gets Brino. Boris Johnson's hopeless, shocking EU treaty, which Nigel Farage pretends to complain about all the time, which is no different than Theresa May's treaty, except for the fact that the Northern Ireland backstop is gone. Nigel Farage is a fraud, he's a coward, and he's an establishment patsy. It's as obvious as hell to anyone who really thinks about it and wants to be unblinded by the obvious. Lastly, Prince Andrew. After Prince Andrew's train wreck interview on BBC Newsnight, if you haven't watched it, please go and watch it. It's unbelievable. It's the biggest train wreck I've ever seen in my life. He was since then expelled from the palace, I believe, and now the Queen has cancelled Prince Andrew's 60th birthday party. You know, this is all optics. I have my suspicions about Prince Charles. You don't think Prince Charles knew what was going on? Come on. Come on. In a few months, it is my belief that Prince Andrew will take a trip to Belize, or a long vacation, as it were. If you don't know what trip to Belize means, I'm sure you can find out. Now, first off, for public optics, they expel him, they cut him from royal duties, they cut his 60th birthday celebration. Then, in, say, 2, 3, 4 months, I believe that Prince Andrew will commit suicide in inverted commas, or, who knows? There might be another car accident in a tunnel. Who knows? I believe that Prince Andrew will take a long vacation, possibly, because we know how the royal family deal with problems. We all know how they dealt with Diana, if you know what I mean. So, in my opinion, it is my belief that that will happen. And the royal family will hope that that solves the problem. The Prince Andrew situation will go away, but unfortunately for them, it is not going to go away, and I believe that more demons about the royal family are going to be uncovered. After all, Prince Charles was on the flight logs. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is all.